Hello there, econ friends. Welcome back. In this video, let's talk about and dissect the short run aggregate supply curve. Actually, let me take this back. Let's go to blue. Let's dissect the SRAS, the short run aggregate supply curve. Okay, and let's remember that when it comes to the AS side of the ADAS model, we have to distinguish between short run and long run, with that primary difference being, with that key determinant being, the idea of sticky prices, the idea that in the short run, prices don't fully adjust, whereas in the long run, they do. Okay, let's jump in. So by definition, the short run aggregate supply, the SRAS curve, shows the various quantities of goods and services that domestic firms will supply at a particular price level. Okay, so again, same idea. We're talking about the comparison between real GDP and the price level. On the SRAS side, we're looking at the relationship between the various quantities of goods and services that firms will supply, as opposed to, or in comparison to, as a function of the particular price level. What you need to walk away with, the big picture here, is that the SRAS curve is upward sloping. You can see it right here. Once again, same metrics. We're talking about price level here. We're talking about real GDP here. And now what we see, SRAS, and this is this upward sloping curve. Okay. Now, the upward slope in this curve reflects, again, the short run, long run distinction. The upward slope here reflects that in the short run, any unanticipated increase in the price level on average will improve the profitability of firms. So think about it this way. You've got these firms that are producing. They probably got some medium term, maybe short term, but they've got some contracts with their workers. They've got contracts with their suppliers. So a lot of their prices and wages are sticky. And then something happens and the prices go up in the market. Well, from the point of view of producers, this is great. They get to still pay their workers and their resource suppliers those contracted sort of fixed wages and resource prices, while the prices for the items that they're selling are going up. They're winning here. They're able to charge more for each item while paying their workers and their suppliers the same amount. And as a result, in this short run, the firm's profitability will go up. And predictably, they will respond by expanding output, which you see here. As the price level goes up, the firms respond by producing more. Note that they can do this because they're making more profit, and they're doing this again because those prices and wages are not fully adjusting. Another way to say it is that to understand the SRAS and to really get it, you have to understand that wage and prices adjust slowly in the short run. Economists call this idea of the slow adjustment of wages sticky wages. So when you hear the term sticky wages, after you stop laughing at the term, because it's kind of cheesy and stupid, but what you need to understand is that it refers to the fact that prices for either resource materials or wages or anything else in the short run adjust slowly. They just do, in part because of contracts, in part because it's just difficult to quickly adjust prices. As a result of those sticky prices, any kind of sudden price change, especially an upward change, firms get a little bit of a windfall, some extra profits, and they respond by increasing and expanding their output. Okay, Sticky wages is the real big determinant, the real big part of short run AS. But it's important to know that prices are often sticky as well. There's this idea that's known as menu cost. And it basically says, imagine that you're a small business owner. You spend a couple grand to have a new kind of sign made with all your prices, to maybe get new menus printed up that has all your items and all your prices on it. Once you have those things, printed out, once you've got your website up, once you've done all this investing of time and money to set your prices, you're not going to change it all that often. It's expensive to change those prices. It's expensive to reset menus. It's expensive to redo these things. Customers get kind of pissed off when they expected one price and they got a different price. So not only are wages sticky, but we see that prices can be sticky as well. Underlying that is this idea of menu cost. So we know what the SRAS is. We know that it's upward sloping. Now let's talk about the idea of SRAS shifts. And the fact is, there are several factors that will shift SRAS. One of them, changes in nominal wages. Okay, changes in nominal wages. The second thing, and again, since we're talking SRAS and we're on the supply part of this equation, you're always thinking about this from the lens of a seller. Wage changes affect your sales, or they affect your ability to sell because they affect your profitability. Tied to the wage changes are changes in the prices of raw materials and any other production resources. We'll also have changes in productivity. This is the big one. Changes in productivity will affect SRAS. And critically, in general, the idea of supply shocks will affect SRAS. A supply shock is defined as any unexpected event that temporarily increases or decreases AS. This could be anything from a labor strike that raises wages really quickly to something as simple as bad weather in a commodity market. You get bad weather in agricultural markets, and maybe you'll have a really bad crop. AS is going to fall. That's a negative supply shock. Maybe you have really good weather and you have a great harvest and excessive agricultural output. That'd be a positive supply shock, and that would push SRAS out to the right. Okay, so we have this idea of these shifts. You see here in panel A, decreases in SRAS, and here in panel B, increases in SRAS. You get the same ideas as before, just the opposite way. Price level and real GDP on our axes. And basically what you can see here, when you have a decrease, you had your original upward sloping SRAS curve. Something happened, and it's going to shift your curve to the left to this new curve. On the other hand, you may have an increase in SRAS for the reasons that we talked about a moment ago. You have here in blue your original SRAS. Something happens. It's going to increase it. It's going to shift it to the right to this new SRAS curve. What you need to really focus on to be able to handle the problems that will be tied to this, remember that SRAS is upward sloping. Remember that it's about that price adjustment issue and the issue of sticky wages and sticky prices. And keep in mind the different factors that we identified that will shift, either increasing to the right or decreasing to the left, SRAS. Okay, thanks for tuning in. That's SRAS. We've got 2 of our pieces done. In our next video, we'll jump into our 3rd and final piece, LRAS, long run aggregate supply. Thanks, my friends. I'll see you in a bit.